Tonight, as Pride Month kicks off, people gather to protest
Fix the hurt
outside the Greater Saskatoon Catholic School Board office.
That trust has been broken, and that's fair. There's lots of you that are angry.
Also, the province announces $40 million more for school divisions to support enrollment growth and class complexity.
And I want to assure you that we will continue to fund enrollment increases to support our growing and diverse province.
Plus, leading up to National Indigenous Peoples Day, artists begin work on a large-scale installation in downtown Regina.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Thursday, June 1st, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thank you for watching. A protest was held today in Saskatoon against the Greater Catholic School Administration, from which a superintendent had emailed teachers last week telling them to avoid bringing their students to the Rainbow Tent at the local Children's Festival. Jason Warwick has more.
More than 100 people gathered outside the Catholic School Board offices in Saskatoon. They say administrators inside this building are promoting intolerance.
But I think there's still some people out there who do not accept that this group of people is part of society among us, and we need to change that. We very badly need to change that.
The issue? This rainbow tent at the Saskatchewan Children's Festival, meant to celebrate gender diversity and inclusion. Inside, performers read stories and played bingo with their audience.
We're still fighting for rights every day, just to walk down the street holding my husband's hand. And until that day stops, we're going to keep doing this.
At least one top Catholic school official had sent a memo warning teachers to keep children away from the tent in the interest of preserving Catholic values.
And we recognize that it's our responsibility as a school division, in concert with their families and their parents, to ensure that those kids feel safe and that they feel valued. And the hurt that's caused, I think Director Rivard did a good job trying to give that apology for the hurt that was caused. And so we'll work with all of our families to ensure that they have the opportunity to help with the direction that their children are educated in.
The Education Minister says he agrees with and supports the school board's decision. Dustin Duncan says parents need to have their own conversations with their kids, and he says bringing students to the Rainbow Tent was not advisable as part of the school trip.
I'm sorry. We love you. We love the students that come to our school.
Why would you send that
across
email
that?
We love them.
Still, this position has been criticized by unions, Indigenous groups, and many others.
Hurtful, it was hard, and it very much sounded similar to like what I've heard as an Indigenous person of your regalia, your ceremonies. They're not age appropriate, they're not good for little ones, they're not good for the public. So I don't want history to repeat itself, so I'm here.
You got one too?
The Rainbow Tent opened Thursday, the same day a flag was raised at the University of Saskatchewan to kick off and celebrate Pride Month. Protesters are hoping to send a message to Catholic school administrators, but they also have a message for kids attending Catholic schools. You are loved and accepted, no matter who you are. Jason Warwick, CBC News, Saskatoon.
The province's school divisions are getting some extra money to the tune of $40 million. The government made the announcement today in Saskatoon. It comes about a month after hundreds of teachers, students and parents rallied in Regina. They were calling for an increase in public education funding. Education Minister Dustin Duncan says half of the cash will go towards school divisions to address the growing number of students in classrooms. The rest will be for hiring support staff.
We're using a factor of the supports for learning part of the operating grant to essentially say to school divisions, this will be your allocation based on that part of the funding formula. So your share of the 20 million. And submit back to us what you plan to do that in terms of, is it hiring teachers, EAs, ed psychologists, speech language workers. So what is your plan? And then for the operating grant, basically we'll adjust the monthly payment that we make to the school divisions After basically September, we'll still look to that September 30th and then make an adjustment based on, again, where the students show up.
So the school divisions will see this new money in the fall. The Saskatchewan Teachers Federation says this money is, quote, woefully inadequate and won't be enough to address budget shortfalls. It says 10 times as much is needed to restore per student funding to the 2012-2013 levels. Well, we are keeping our eye on the sky this hour as severe watches and warnings are popping up all over the place. Our weather specialist, Ethan Williams, is here with the latest. Ethan?
Well, storms really from south to north in the province today, Sam. You can see all of them really firing up at this hour. And this is kind of what's causing this. A low pressure system, the center of it here, the storm spinning in a counterclockwise motion. And it's this frontal boundary here where we are seeing the storms, the division between the warmer and the colder air. Regina, we are now under a severe thunderstorm warning. This line of storms stretching all the way from Assiniboia up to Avonlea to around Regina and northward to around the Strasbourg area, looking for nickel to ping pong ball sized hail. We did have a tornado warning earlier south around the Assiniboia area that has since come to an end. And these storms also non-severe in nature right now, but a band of them in the Meadow Lake area up toward Isle La Crosse too. And severe thunderstorm watch is coming to an end in western sections, but they are still in effect for Regina, Saskatoon, and as far north as the La Loche area. I'll let you know just how long we can expect these storms to be sticking around a little bit later, Sam.
All right. Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
The Saskatchewan Public Safety Agency says local crews are managing our province's wildfires for now. The province says there were 20 active fires burning this morning, 7 of them not contained. Firefighters are protecting property at 4 others. The SPSA says there are not any out-of-province crews on the ground here, but they are looking for help.
We may have to bring crews in just to give our crews a chance to get off the line, to get some downtime before we put them back to work. They have been going hard at it for well over 2.5 weeks. So we may have to look at some relief just so that they can get refreshed and get back on the line here, because this fire won't be over anytime soon. We have a full season in front of us.
Also today, the federal government announced a partnership with the International Association of Firefighters. The pilot project will give structural firefighters wildfire training in the hopes that it will expand the country's firefighting capacity. It comes as Emergency Preparedness Minister Bill Blair declares an unprecedented start to the wildfire season in Canada. Wildfires have also been threatening communities in the Northwest Territories, forcing thousands of residents to leave their homes. It has people in Fort Smith concerned, wondering if they'll be next. Carla Ulrich has more.
Although fire smarting has been done throughout the years here, some say there is still work to be done.
Across the road, they had worked on that quite a few years ago now, but it needs to be redone. And there's places like this, especially along the hill. Along this hill here, I always think of that as a dangerous place. If there's a lightning strike, then fire could come up the hill really quick, because the fire travels uphill really fast. And all the dead wood down there, like nobody has ever worked on that down the hill, along the hill.
Beaver added the community can't just rely on firefighting. They also need to think about prevention, and that should start young.
Start teaching it from kindergarten till grade 12. Don't even stop there. Like, because the more times you hear it, you're more apt to remember it.
So what's being done in the community?
We are looking at plans to carry out some larger fire smart work around the community, including fire breaks. We're also working with local timber harvesters to do more targeted timber harvesting within the community that will effectively create fire breaks while producing firewood for the local community, which is always a need.
McNabb also added that the community plays an important role in fire prevention.
If residents notice areas of specific concern around their property, they can certainly bring them forward to the town for consideration in our Fire Smart plans. But in addition, a lot of work can be done in individuals' own backyards. Undeveloped properties owned by private citizens can be thinned. maintaining short grass and raked leaves, trimming tree branches up to 6 or 10 feet high to get rid of ladder fuels, and just reducing the number of trees on properties can go a long way.
For more information on fire prevention, you can go to firesmartcanada.ca. Carla Ulrich, CBC News, Fort Smith.
Students at Fairhaven School in Saskatoon were able to see a piece of history today, the Bell of Batoche. After the historic Battle of Batoche in 1885, the bell was taken as a trophy of war by Canadian soldiers. The bell ended up in a Legion Hall in Millbrook, Ontario until 1991, when it was taken back by Billy Joe Delarange and 4 other Métis people and returned to Batoche.
Why we brought it to Fairhaven School is because I have 3 grandchildren in the school now, and the grade 4 class was talking about Batoche and the Bell of Batoche. And so I came and spoke on Marie Antoinette, and then had the opportunity to bring the bell back here this morning so they could actually see it and feel it and know the power of the bell.
Isbister's connection to the bell goes back generations, as her great-grandfather fought in the Battle of Batoche. She blessed the bell when it returned to Batoche in 1991. Isbister says the bell is a symbol of hope. Artists started working on a large-scale installation in downtown Regina today. It's called The Path to Reconciliation. Artists Brandy Jones and Gina Dunbar created the mural, and it's getting painted with the help of volunteers. The project is 8 feet wide and 350 feet long, and it's a collaboration between Creative City Centre and the Regina Downtown Business Improvement District.
The first half is like 166 rows. It features 1,300 and something beads. The whole path itself is about over like 2,500, 2,600 beads. It's going to be a very large project, and I just want to see people be excited. I want to see people interact. I want to see people have conversations during it, and just take a piece home with them, you know?
The mural will be worked on until June 17th, with a special event to celebrate the project June 21st during the National Indigenous Peoples Day celebrations at Victoria Park. Lots of gardeners already out in full force thanks to all this warm weather we've been having. Those brave enough to plant before May long weekend with quite the head start. But will the severe weather rolling through the province cause issues for these gardens? Ethan will be back with your forecast after the break. Stay with us. It was January of last year that a Vancouver couple decided to make the move to Estevan. The wife is a family doctor, the husband a software designer. But it's what Gordon Moore does in his personal time that's getting attention, making videos to promote small-town Saskatchewan.
It was a year of people constantly asking me, why would I move from this to this? My wife is originally from Mural. She's a foreign doctor. And we were in BC, and British Columbia, unfortunately, has odd laws about foreign doctors and basically make it impossible. My wife got offered a job to be a doctor in Saskatchewan, because Saskatchewan allows foreign doctors. As I talk about how BC didn't allow my wife to be a doctor, I talked about how frustrated I was with Vancouver, and then I just continually talked about what I was discovering about Saskatchewan. And it really resonated with people both in Saskatchewan and in the big cities. One of the cool traits of Saskatchewan is they're humble. Being a bragger isn't really something that fits here. But one of the negatives about that is they're sitting on this beautiful lifestyle, but they don't want to talk about it, or they don't realize it, or they think everyone laughs at them. And here comes this guy from Vancouver on TikTok saying, this place is amazing. And then I started getting people saying, okay, you successfully made the move. I want out of Toronto. I want out of Vancouver. I want out of Montreal. How did you do it? What's housing like? What's the cost of living like? Are there jobs? The big one is, are there jobs? And that one's easy because there are a lot of jobs here, and they're decently paying relative to cost of living relative to Vancouver. But if you're like a young family who is paying 80% of their income on a rent, and you know you will never buy a home, and you have 2 jobs, it's like perfect, because what I just described, your kids can go play in the park and have this 1970s childhood that we all miss.
So the real question is, why haven't you made the same move?
This weather update is brought to you by Capital Ford Lincoln. Used car savings is on now.
And it's the Super Bowl of weather days today. Our weather specialist Ethan Williams joins me now. Holy storms, Batman.
Oh yeah, they are everywhere in the province. And you know, Sam, when we talk about these storms, we talk about some of the dangers like the torrential rain, the large hail, the strong winds. But of course, one really big part of the storms that's really dangerous is the lightning. And this is what lightning did earlier this afternoon to some hay bales. This was captured by Braden Morisseau, a storm chaser. This is near Brownlee, just northwest of Moose Jaw. And yes, those bales struck by lightning, even in the middle of all that wind and rain, they are still blazing away there. So a reminder that even if you are kind of close to the ground, there is definitely danger. We also saw some storms yesterday night in La Ronge, some loony-sized hail moving through there. Much needed rain. Unfortunately, we did see lightning as well. But the weather station there at the Environment Canada office recorded nearly 50 millimeters in the span of just a few hours. And those severe thunderstorm watches extending southward, they are starting to drop off in western sections now. Southeastern Saskatchewan, we haven't seen them at all today. It's been a little less volatile in that part of the province. But extending northward into portions like Meadow Lake and La Loche over to Key Lake, that is where we are seeing some watches as well. Here's where the storms are. Again, it's that area of low pressure interacting with the moisture that's been causing this. There is the frontal boundary that is the kind of the division between the warmer and colder air. Not a lot of ingredients in the air for producing tornadoes today. So we saw a warning a little bit earlier, but I think the threat has dropped off now. Regina, our storm shield seems to have failed us. I think we will actually get hit with a storm here. It looks like it's moving into the city now. This line of storms from Assiniboia up towards Strasbourg, producing nickel to ping pong ball sized hail and torrential rain, according to the Weather Service. And some pretty heavy rain and sizable hail just north of Meadow Lake now, around Canoe Lake and up to Isle La Crosse as well. Storms likely to continue through the evening in southern Saskatchewan, kind of forming a disorganized line as we head into the early morning hours. Best chance for storms actually again in the north. Hopefully for the forest fire situation, we can get some rain there. And then again, tomorrow, as we head through the evening hours, this is around 5 o'clock tomorrow into early Saturday morning, another good chance of seeing some storms as well. The severe threat encompassing kind of the same area, but sliding a little bit further eastward to encompass Yorkton and Estevan. Torrential downpours, moderate-sized hail possible. And then our weather pattern starts to change. 35 degrees today in Ottawa, Montreal, record-breaking temperatures. Not often that we get their weather heading our way, but that's what's going to happen as we head into the weekend and beginning of next week. Don't think temperatures are going to get quite that high. But for a lot of south and central especially, temperature is going to be near 30 degrees and things going to be drying out. But still a bit of a humid X factor heading into the beginning of next week as well. And look at those overnight lows, well into the mid to upper teens. Couple of days of still some storms here in the Saskatoon area. Next thing our attention going to be turning to is a potentially increase in the forest fire and drought risk with this dry weather, Sam. So we'll take the rain from the storms while we can get it.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
June is Park and Recreation Month in the city of Regina, and there are plenty of fun outdoor activities, which also include free rock painting pop-up locations like this one today at Kiwanis Park. It goes until 7 o'clock tonight, though not sure about that with the weather right now. More are planned for parks in Regina June 7th, 13th, and 19th. You can find more details on the city's Facebook page. We'll be back after the break. The minimum wage across Canada ranges from $13 to $16 an hour. Today, British Columbia raised its rate to almost $17 an hour. And as we hear from Susanna De Silva, reaction is mixed.
Every penny counts these days for most Canadians, especially those making minimum wage.
Because it's a survival job for us.
I mean, how much of a difference do you think $1 an hour even can make?
If like I am earning bi-weekly $700, if $1 increase, so it's gonna be $750 or something like that. So then I can manage a little stuff.
But those in charge of the grocery store he works at say it's a worrisome added cost on top of many others, on top of already thin margins.
I always check prices every week when we receive the delivery, and they increase like every time I place an order. So that affects us so much. So we need to increase prices.
BC's minimum wage jumped to $16.75, an increase of 6.9% tied to last year's rate of inflation. Only Yukon's is higher. Saskatchewan pays the lowest at $13, though that is going up $1 later this year. Increases some business groups say many small companies can't handle.
We have to be very cautious that we don't start charging $25 for a hamburger. We'll have no customers. So we walk a really tight balance here.
This economist applauds the move, saying previous increases haven't driven up prices or unemployment.
Some businesses that employ a lot of low-wage workers feel that pressure somewhat. But, why does the burden have to fall on the employees?
By one advocacy group's calculation, the minimum wage needed to cover basics in Metro Vancouver is actually around $24 an hour.
But they're still probably already having to work multiple jobs or make difficult decisions about whether they're going to live in overcrowded housing or what they're going to be able to do to be able to pay for essentials.
Difficult calculations made easier for some, harder for others after this increase. Susanna De Silva, CBC News, Vancouver.
And Ethan's back with one last look at your weather.
And I can confirm, Sam just ran outside or just out of our studio here. It is raining in Regina with these very heavy storms here. In addition to that torrential rain, also looking for some nickel to ping pong ball sized hail. Storm stretching from Willow Bunch to Avonlea through Regina, even as far north as Humboldt now. And again, some very strong rain or heavy rain moving north into the Isle La Crosse area. Really need rain in that part of the province, and we hope that there aren't too many lightning strikes there. Severe thunderstorm watches still in place for Regina and Saskatoon and extending northward through the north as well. And again, that threat moving south and east tomorrow with torrential downpours, moderate-sized hail going to be a main threat there. Of course, the tornado threat, I think, a little bit on the lower side, Sam, but a good idea to stay weather aware once again tomorrow.
And pack an umbrella tomorrow.
That too, yes.
All right, thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
And before we leave you tonight, it was a party today for only the best girls and boys, but the belle of the ball was a gal that has helped so many people. Today, the Regina Police Service held a ceremony and party for Kayline Merlot's retirement after 8 years of service, complete with a pupcake. Merlot's role was to provide comfort and mostly supported children and vulnerable people through traumatic experiences. She assisted police in police-led interviews, helping kids testify in court, and provided support to officers during debriefs after critical incidents. Her handler, Sergeant Tia Fro, says it's a happy and sad day.
I'm so proud of all the work that she has done over the years, but at the same time, she's worked really hard for almost 8 years, and so I'm happy to see her be able to just relax and now just enjoy the rest of her life just being a dog.
Sergeant Fro says Merlot will stay with her, and their plans for her retirement include sleeping in, exercise, lots of time at the lake, and just relaxing. RPS will be replacing Merlot. A handler's been chosen and is being trained. Now the wait is on for the perfect dog. And that is it for us tonight. For news anytime, you can head to cbc.ca/sask or subscribe to CBC Saskatchewan's YouTube channel. Ethan will be back with more local news and weather tonight at 11. Thank you for watching and have a great night. Stay safe.